All right, good Thursday evening, everybody. David Paul here in the KHOU 11 Weather Center. The Arctic air is here, and it is just about everywhere across the United States. Bitter cold. This is all part of a big winter storm that has pulled all this Arctic air out of Canada down into the lower 48. And while we're getting the bitter cold air here, and it's still building in, they're getting sleet and snow and blowing snow and blizzard conditions across the high plains and the Great Lakes. This will end up giving us some significant travel issues as we head into tomorrow for Chicago and Detroit and Louisville and Pittsburgh and New York. If you're flying that way tomorrow, they will have airport slowdowns. We actually have a few airport slowdowns at Bush Intercontinental Airport because the wind has been so strong out of the north. The planes apparently have had to come in from a little bit of a different angle, and so it's just slowed down the number of planes that can move through Bush Intercontinental per hour. So it's just slowed things down a little bit there. It's not a huge delay, but again, this is the type of thing where delay there, delay in Chicago, delay in New York can set up that big domino effect. So travelers, be prepared for delays. If you don't get delayed, consider yourself very, very lucky. So temps across the nation, and I thought this was interesting to start. So we're at 26 degrees now at Bush Intercontinental Airport. We are now colder, significantly colder than they are in Detroit, Michigan, where they're at 40. Or Pittsburgh at 38. We're colder than New York right now, 45. Boston's at 44. We're 26. You know, we've got to get up to Caribou, Maine to get anything colder than Houston is. So it just goes to show how not only how cold this air mass is, but how far south it has plunged. And just looking at the shape of it right now, it is more than anything, you know, rolled out of northwest Canada. It has come almost due south. Now it is going to push east. That's its next move. And you can see the leading edge of it right here pushing to the east where Louisville's dropped to 25. You know, and Atlanta's at 46 and Pittsburgh at 38. That's the leading edge of the easterly push of that cold air. But for the moment, the first dive has been due south, and that has brought in temperatures that are a little colder in Texas than we had forecast for this time. So we're keeping an eye on that. We're going to go through everything here. Our president of marketing and CEO of all things digital, and Randy is here. If you've been with us all week, Randy's here. Randy has a mic, so we're going to get your questions when I'm done going through everything here. So if you got a question, I'll put it up. Randy's taking notes, or just wait for just a second, and we'll get to all the questions here as we move forward. Okay, so Kansas City at 5 below, Little Rock at 14 below, Amarillo's at 3 right now, and wind chills are just bitterly cold. We're going to go through that. So here's the way the cold air arrived. This is the past 12 hours temperature loop. We warmed to almost 60 before plunging to 32 at 6 o'clock here in Houston. Now we're at 26. Tyler's at 14. Dallas is 13 degrees. Amarillo's at 3. That appears to be the cold spot in Texas right now. Victoria is below freezing at 30. You know, San Antonio's at 23. These are temperatures these cities are not used to, and so we're going to see significant damage to once again the tropical plants and the palm trees like we did back in 2021 with temperatures this cold for so long. These are the current wind chills. So we have a wind across Texas at 20 to 25, gusting to 35 and 40 on the coast and above. It right now feels like 13 degrees at Bush here in Houston when the wind blows. Feels like 8 below in Dallas. Feels like 18 below in Amarillo. So some of the wind chills across the northern plains have been 60 and 70 below zero today with winds at 50 to 60 to 70 miles an hour. It's been very, very brutal up there, as cold as it is here. Austin feels like 2. Victoria, you guys feel like 16 degrees right now. Here are current temperatures. Galveston is just above freezing at 36. Everybody else is below freezing. Hobby at 29, Bush 26, Conroe 23, Huntsville's at 22. That appears to be the cold spot right now. Brenham, you're tied with a current temperature of 22 degrees. And again, it was Bush Intercontinental Airport. That's Houston's station of record. We fell to the freezing mark at 6 p.m. on this Thursday evening. So we've got the clock running, and we're going to pay very close attention as to how many hours we actually end up staying below freezing. So the clock is running on that. It started at 6 p.m. this evening. Compared to 24 hours ago, yesterday at this time, we are 20 degrees colder at Hobby, 21 degrees colder at Columbus, 20 degrees colder at Huntsville. Sugar Land is 16 degrees colder than yesterday at this time. The wind is it's a huge factor out there in how cold it feels. Conroe's got a sustained wind at 22, Tomball at 14, Brenham's got a sustained wind at 30, Hobby sustained wind at 24, Wharton and Palacios sustained winds in the upper 30s, and Galveston a sustained wind out of the north at 31. What are gusts doing? Well, in the past hour, we had a gust of 43 in Galveston. Look at this, had a gust of 52 in Palacios, a gust of 45 in Wharton. Houston, a gust of 30 in the past hour. Conroe had a gust to 40. Angleton, a gust of 44. So it is really blowing out there. You can see the cameras jiggling a little bit along with everything else out there. And so that is giving us a wind chill that is bone-chillingly cold. It feels like 17 in Pearland. Wharton feels like 8 degrees. Huntsville feels like 11. Brenham feels like 4. So 8 and 4 and 9 in Columbus. Already seeing wind chill readings in the single digits. We didn't expect to see wind chill readings in the single digits until early Friday morning. So it's a little colder, it's a little windier, and everything is a little bit ahead of schedule as to the way the models put it. And that is not out of the ordinary. These shallow Arctic air masses, this is only 1,000 feet thick or so, these shallow Arctic air masses, it can be difficult for the models to pick up on them just because of how dense and how shallow they are. And so quite often, once they get moving, they move faster than the models think they will, and we end up a little colder and a little bit ahead of schedule. But that being said, it doesn't do anything to change the preparations that we've been doing for the past several days. Okay, future track temperatures. How cold is it about to get? We go ahead to midnight tonight. Springs down to 24, Pearland down to 26, Galveston below freezing at 31. Let's see, Huntsville down to 21. That would be the cold spot at midnight tonight. We take it into 7:15 tomorrow morning. This is when we should bottom out. Pearland at 19, El Campo at 20, Bay City at 21, Galveston at 25. Spring at 18, Conroe 16, Huntsville down to 15. So bitterly cold temperatures on their own, but there will still be a strong wind. And that wind's going to last most of the day tomorrow as well. So we go into Friday, we go into the afternoon, and we will struggle to get to the freezing mark. I think north of I-10, pretty much we will not get to freezing, upper 20s to near 30. South of I-10, maybe some spots that just get a little above freezing. Angleton 33, Brazosport forecast to go to 33, Galveston forecast to go to 33, that's it. And then after that, we're going to plunge back down, I think, into the teens again, going into Saturday morning. Christmas Eve morning, Saturday morning is going to be, again, very, very cold. So let's talk a little bit more about the wind. Right now we've got that north wind gusting to 40, 45 in spots, sustained at 25 to 30 and above right now. Bitterly cold out there right now. Those wind gusts stay with us going into 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Still a north wind gusting to 23 to 25 for inland areas. Angleton a forecast gust to 30 tomorrow morning. Galveston may still see gusts to 40 and above going into tomorrow morning. And then these winds, they just kind of stay up. Maybe they let up a little bit. Still seeing gusts by 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. 20 to 25 inland, 30 and probably a little bit above that at times on the coast. So it stays windy and temperatures at or below freezing all day tomorrow, even with the full sun. That is going to be a fascinating Houston day and a brutally cold Houston day. Wind chills, 7:30 tomorrow morning, single digits all over the place. Angleton feels like 4, Galveston feels like 8, Conroe 0, Huntsville 1 below 0. And again, this is a factor of your body has these little hairs all over it, and they kind of builds up a very thin layer of heat around your body. And when that wind blows against it, not only does it blow that little layer of heat away from your skin, but it removes moisture from your skin, and that causes evaporative cooling as well. So it's a double whammy, and it feels much colder than it actually is. That's why wind chill temperatures feel so much colder to your body than the actual air temperature outside. And so wind chill forecast going into noon tomorrow. What are your plans? You may be running around trying to get Christmas dinner stuff at the grocery store, but it will be feeling like 16 degrees in Houston when the wind blows. Pearland feeling like 16 at noon tomorrow. Tomball feels like 14. And then going into the afternoon, it will still feel like it's in the low 20s and upper teens with the wind chill factor as we head into Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock. So even with the sunshine out tomorrow, it is going to be brutally cold. Let's look ahead to the weekend. Christmas Eve, this is Saturday morning, again down to 18, down to 21 on Christmas Day, Christmas morning. Oh, first of all, so 40. So this will be the first time we get back above freezing by any measure going into Saturday afternoon, Christmas Eve, then back down below freezing after sunset, 21 Christmas Day morning. Sunshine all over the place. We'll go to 47 degrees, but that is a cold Christmas day. That is, you get a new skateboard, you get a new bicycle, get a new scooter. You're going to be wearing the hat and the scarf and the mittens and everything to ride that thing, but I'd be doing it. Nothing would stop me from a new bicycle. Okay, so if we do go down to 21, that's going to put us right in here. It'll be a new number 3 coldest Christmas ever recorded, beating the 1989 record, or warmer than the 1989 record by just 1 degree, beating the 1990 record by 5 degrees, if we do indeed hit 21. Friday, 18 in the morning, feels like 3. By noon, it's 28, feeling like 12. And by 5 o'clock, that may be optimistic, 32, feeling like 25. Cold day to be running around, but a beautiful day. Look at the extended, nothing but sunshine. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're going to clear out. Santa loves this. It's nice and cold. That north breeze, he likes to ride that north breeze in. And your roof will be cold. There may not be ice on it, but it's cold. So, that sled can just smoothly glide in, land on the roof. You won't even hear it. In and out quickly, presents, he's gone. So he loves it. Hey, Santa. Okay, that is where we stand right now. Randy, hit the mic. Say hi to everybody, Randy.
Hi, how is everybody? Cold, I'm sure.
Yeah, really. Okay, Randy, let's go. What do we got out there?
Okay, we actually have quite a few questions. We'll start with Tasha Reynolds. Tasha wants to know if she'll still be able to drive on the streets tomorrow.
Yes, this will not impact the roads in any way, shape, or form, unless there is the odd broken sprinkler head that sprays water onto the road, and then it could freeze. Water that gets on the road, puddles that are on the road, they could freeze. Now, we've been dry, so we don't have any weather-related standing water on roadways, but in the very odd circumstance that you get some water sprayed on the road from a busted sprinkler head or a hose left on, that could freeze. Otherwise, bridges and overpasses are fine. There's nothing falling from the sky to freeze on them. So it should be very dry, very sunny, and very cold. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, Teresa's got one. How long can you stay outside in this cold before it becomes harmful?
Teresa, that's a great question. It depends on the person, but I would say this type of cold, exposed skin, you really don't want to stay out with the exposed skin and that type of wind chill any more than about 10 or 15 minutes. After that, you may begin to do some sort of minor damage to your skin. So 10 to 15 minutes Friday morning, exposed skin, that's about the worst of it. That being said, from time to time, I've watched the Iditarod, and those guys are, their faces are exposed, and they're going across the Klondike with those dogs, and it's below 0, and they do it all day long. Now they've got coatings and moisturizer and sunscreen and all that on there to protect. But I would be very, very careful. No more than about 15 minutes before you take a break is probably good rule of thumb in this type of weather. Good question.
Okay, Diana wants to know, when is this wind going to stop?
Wind's not going to let up. It'll be with us overnight and tomorrow. Let me go back to the wind forecast. That's a great question. So the wind stays with us. So right now we've got wind sustained at 25, gusting 35 to 45. This is 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. The wind is still gusting 25 to 30 inland. So tomorrow morning, still windy. We go into 1 o'clock tomorrow, still gusts to 20 and 25, so still breezy. But even a breeze of 10 to 15 when temperatures are at or below freezing is really uncomfortably cold. So it stays breezy and cold, and I show you those wind chills stay in the teens and 20s all day tomorrow. So it won't really be a wind letting up until Saturday morning. Then Saturday the wind will be much, much lighter. Good question.
Okay, and actually we've gotten a couple people who asked this question. Do we think the wind is going to stop the buses from running?
I don't know why it would. I don't know why the wind would stop the buses from running. They are high-profile vehicles. The wind would, buffet them around a little bit, but they should still be able to operate safely. So off the top of my head, I would say they should not stop the buses from running. But the only real answer to that, what's their website?
Let me check. It's Ride Metro. I will check that right now while we talk.
Randy's going to check it out. I would go to Metro's website. If you depend on the bus for travel, that's a great question. Sometimes you never know how the weather is going to impact that type of service. So is it HoustonMetro.com?
RideMetro.org.
RideMetro.org.
Yep.
So RideMetro.org is the place to probably get an answer to that. They'll have alerts and updates if they do have to stop running or have some routes changed. So RideMetro.org is the website to keep up with the bus routes. Great question.
And I'll put that link in the chat as well. And I'm looking right now, and I don't see anything that says it, but it does say to monitor your local weather forecast. Chief Meteorologist David Paul, and and we'll see if there's any effects on the buses. Let's see. Chris wants to know how long we're going to stay below freezing.
That's a good question. So we set the clock running at 6 o'clock this evening. So if we don't get above freezing tomorrow afternoon, we will then definitely get to 6 p.m. Friday evening. So that's 24 hours. And then we go to 6 a.m. So that's 24, 30, what are we looking at? Going up to 36 hours now. And we probably won't get above freezing till noon. So we may be 40 to 48 hours, somewhere in there below freezing, I think is a good guesstimate, as long as we don't get above freezing at all on Friday. And even if we do get above freezing on Friday, it'll just be for a moment. So I think in total, best guess between 40 and 48 hours sub-freezing for Harris County. That's it.
Okay. Let's see. We've got a question from Zulia about, and actually this might be one I can answer. It's how many people are being affected by the power outages? And I was actually just looking at CenterPoint's website, and there were about 7,000, but it's kind of been moving around all day.
Okay. And so we have been monitoring this all day as well. I've seen it go as high as 9. Now we're at 7. I saw it go as low as 6. Those numbers are about what we get on a normal day, just with normal power outages happening for one reason or another. So at the moment, what we're seeing, we've got several thousand without power, but it doesn't look to be anything weather related or anything out of the ordinary. Maybe it's a few hundred more than normal, but we're not seeing, like 15 or 20,000. That would be out of the ordinary. 6, 7, 8,000, we almost always have that kind of running total with one minor problem or another here, just based on wear and tear of the infrastructure. So at the moment, no widespread power outages. Good.
Okay, we've got a few more questions about when the timeline, when the wind's going to die down, when we're going to come out from freezing. But then we've got Jordan, who is asking if you would tell his work that he shouldn't come in because it's too cold.
Don't go into work tomorrow, whatever you do. If you work outside, you may want to talk to your boss or have a little meeting. Especially, you may want to get a late start. That may be the safest, because these wind chills in the morning, 3, 4, 5 degrees. We're just not used to that. That's just dangerously cold. And what are you going to get done with a wind chill factor of 5 outside? So maybe talk to your gang and see if you can start work around noon tomorrow, and then work for 4 hours, and then go home and get a cup of hot chocolate.
Okay, Hillary's got a good question. Is it safe for the 18-wheelers to be out there, the high-profile 18-wheelers?
Well, it is, but you need to give them a little more space, because the wind will buffet them around a little bit. Those big trailers are fairly lightweight, and they can act like a sail. So really, more than anything else, be a defensive driver with the 18-wheelers out there, and you give them the space they need. Because they may, the cab could stay in the lane, but maybe the trailer gets a little buffeted now and then by that wind. So absolutely, especially going east and west on I-10 with that north wind, you be defensive when you're driving and give the 18-wheelers a little extra space.
Okay. Mohammed wants to know if there's any chance of lake effect snow for anyone who lives by a lake.
Mohammed, I wish there was a chance for snow by any means, but no, the air mass is just simply too dry. It's too dry. So it won't be able to pick up enough moisture. Our lakes aren't big enough. Conroe, Houston, Livingston, they're not like the Great Lakes. They're not nearly the mass of the Great Lakes. So although, there are some very, very minor lake effect issues that we get with our lakes, they're nothing like the Great Lakes. So there won't be any type of lake effect snow off of our lakes. But that's a great question. I like the way you're thinking there. The wind blows across the lake, picks up moisture, and downstream it dumps it as snow. That's what happens up in the Great Lakes. Here, the lakes are just too small. There's not enough time for the wind to pick up any significant moisture. Good question.
Okay. Valerie wants to know if they need to shut their water off tonight.
Well, all of that depends on your structure, depends on where you live. If you're in an uninsulated wooden home, maybe it's in a rural part of a county somewhere, your pipes are uninsulated and there's no insulation in the attic, well, yeah, you probably should drain the pipes and shut it off. If you're in a brick home, no, you don't have to shut your water off. As long as you're home running the heater, there'll be enough heat permeating into the walls in the attic that should be fine to keep your pipes from freezing. What you do want to definitely cover are pipes that are exposed to the outside air. Faucet heads coming out from your home, irrigation pipes. Everyone, if you've got an irrigation system, you've got that pipe that goes up, has a valve and comes down. You want to wrap that up. That PVC will break in this type of temperature. And if your house is on pier and beam and the wind can get underneath and you got your plumbing underneath the house, definitely want to wrap it or stop the wind from getting under your house, because that can burst those exposed pipes to the air. But if they're inside the walls and you're home and your heater is running, should be in good shape. It's when you have a home and you're out of town and your heater's off for several days while the freeze comes in, that's when even the strongest homes can have pipes break. We saw that in 2021 with the power grid failing. So the general answer is no. Not pipes in your house are not threatened. It's the ones that are directly exposed to outside air.
Okay. Seth wants to know, and this is one I can find and put a link in there as well, if there are any major issues with airport delays.
So minor issue at Bush. I'm told it's a few minute delay now and then, just because they're having to slow down the planes coming in because of the wind. The biggest delay we had across the country is, in fact, let me just walk over here for a second, and I'm going to pull up current delays. Let's see if there is anything. Chicago had a 2.5 hour delay going all afternoon and into the early evening. Kind of curious to see if they are still running a delay like that. Let's see, here we go. Airport delays nation. So let's see, where do we stand? Okay, here are the current delays of the major hubs across the United States. I mean, we're really looking pretty good. Chicago has cleared their delay. Of course, it's also getting later into the evening, so there are fewer flights coming in right now. That half-hour delay in D.C. has been there all afternoon, and now this evening still a half-hour delay. Bush not reporting any delays. So right now we're looking really good. But all this cold air, there's a winter storm that's brewing here, and it will be heading east and picking up steam. And so what I've got is, see if I can find my airport delay forecast. Let's see. Because tomorrow we're talking about some significant potential delays across the Northeast, from Chicago to Boston to New York, Pittsburgh. Could see significant delays. Where is? Okay, I may have to pull that out of the library and load it. But let me just show you. So it's for tomorrow. Right in here, from Minneapolis to Chicago to Charlotte to Washington, D.C. to New York. Of course, that includes Philly. That includes Boston's Logan Field. These airports here, Great Lakes, Minneapolis, Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, Charlotte, D.C., New York, Boston, Philly, all will see the probability of at least some minor delays, if not major delays. So you got a flight going in here tomorrow, or someone coming out of here tomorrow, or a flight that connects through here, you can expect it to be delayed. If it's not, consider yourself very, very lucky, because this is where our winter storm, our low pressure storm, is going to wrap up and bring all kinds of winter weather and wind and snow and reduced visibility. Good question.
Okay. Preston, by any chance, if the winds stay a little stronger than expected for tomorrow night, can that cause the temperatures perhaps not to drop as much as we thought?
Yeah, it's a factor of the wind tomorrow. It really is. If the winds die down, temperatures will drop into the teens again. If the winds stay up tomorrow night, that mixes the atmosphere and it keeps it from getting quite as cold. So maybe we would only be in the upper teens and low 20s tomorrow. But overall, this air mass is so cold and it's now in place that it looks likely that even if we have a light breeze tomorrow night, we're still going to go down into the 20s and teens for most areas, much like we're doing tonight? Very good question.
Okay, and I think that's, let's see, I think that's pretty much it.
All right.
So.
All right. Well, great. Well, there we are. So one more time. Let's see if I can. I don't want to load. We'll show you current temperatures where we stand right now and where we're headed. I'm curious to see if we've dropped since we came on here. 26 at Hobby, Bush at 29, about the same score as when we started. Pearland's at 29. Galveston's the only spot above freezing right now. We still have temperatures that are significantly colder than yesterday at this time, of course. Winds are sustained, 38 in Wharton, 17 at Houston. Conroe sustained out of the north at 22. Hobby sustained at 24. Wind gusts to 43 in Galveston last hour. Wharton a gust to 45. Conroe a gust to 40. And that is putting feels like wind chill temperatures in the teens and single digits right now. Feels like 3 degrees in Brenham, 13 at Bush, 8 in Wharton, Hobby 15. I hope you have a warm place, or you're in a warm place and you can stay in the warm place, safe place you're in right now. Again, no precip, roads are dry, they're not going to get wet or icy. That should be good, but it's the temperature on your skin and for your loved ones around you that is important to stay protected from. Stay warm. We'll have a live update on the TV side at 10 p.m. with all the latest updates. We'll also take you and show you pictures from across the country on KHOU 11 News at 10 o'clock, so you can see what's going on and the blizzard-like conditions that brought visibility to near zero across the Great Lakes and the plains this afternoon. We'll see you live for the next update on the TV side at 10 o'clock. We'll see you then.